Good evening, Rancho Verde High School pre-calculus class. This is Mr. Langston, and I am coming at you late at night today. Today is Thursday the 19th, and, well, I'm doing this video because we had the Great Shakeout, and some of my students, some of my students didn't get the material because of the Great Shakeout, so I'm just going to be covering everything. First thing we have is definitions of trigonometric functions. So let's change the color. I'm really not going to go over these. One thing that is that I really don't remember this. I'm sorry. I grew up with Great Indian Chief Sohcahtoa. And that gave me my sine, my cosine, and my tangent. And the way I remembered cosecant, secant, and cotangent is you just take the reciprocal of each. So cosecant is the reciprocal of a sine. And then secant is the reciprocal of a cosine. And then the cotangent is the reciprocal of a tangent. So that's how I remembered. Now, one thing is some students have difficult times identifying which one's the opposite, which one's the adjacent. So this is how I remember it. The hypotenuse is always across from the right angle. Always. The opposite side is the side that is being eaten by the angle. So I'm kind of making lousy teeth. It's being eaten by the angle. So here's my angle theta, making the mouth, and it's eating the opposite side. Yum, yum, yum. That's how I remember it. Hokey, I know, but oddly enough, it works. So there you go. So we have the 6 trig functions that we need to evaluate. You're going to use a Pythagorean theorem to find the third side, because they kind of like to leave off the third side. When you do that, third side's 5. Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. I'm not going to cover that part. You should know that. So third side's 5. Once you do that, you need to find the sine, the cosine, the tangent, the cosecant. I'm doing a lousy job. It's late tonight. The secant and the cotangent. And of course, it's of theta. I usually get a little bit lazy, and sometimes I leave off the thetas. So again, my angle is eating the opposite side. I got my adjacent here, and I got my hypotenuse here. So sine is opposite over hypotenuse, so 4 over 5. Cosine's adjacent over hypotenuse, 3 over 5. Tangent is opposite over adjacent, 4 over 3. And then everything else is just reciprocal. So reciprocal of the sine, 5 over 4, 5 over 3, and then lastly, 3 over 4. So there's right angle, or sorry, shall I say right triangle formulas that you need to know. I never heard of it called as a 45-45-90 triangle. That's just lazy. It's an isosceles right triangle. And this is, I hear it more commonly as a 30-60 right triangle. The formula here, the two congruent sides, they're n. The hypotenuse here is n root 2. For this one, I've never learned it 2n, n root 3. Never, ever, ever. The way I learned it was the hypotenuse was S. The side opposite the 30-degree angle was S over 2. And then the middle side is S over 2 square root 3. The way I learned it, it's the way I'm teaching it to you. So you need to find the missing side, then find sine of 45, cosine of 45, tangent of 45. So they said that the missing sides here are 1. Well, if that's the case, then this side is just square root of 2. And now you're going to do sine of 45 degrees. It doesn't really matter which one you choose, so I'll choose this one as theta. So here's my angle. So that means opposite, adjacent, hypotenuse. So sine of 45 degrees is going to be opposite over hypotenuse, which is going to be 1 over square root 2. Can't have a square root on the bottom, so you multiply by root 2 over root 2. Just multiplying it by 1, really. So you're getting square root of 2 over 2. And then you get cosine 45. That's going to end up being the same, root 2 over 2. And then tangent of 45, that's going to be, the way I learned tangent is sine over cosine. So my sine is root 2 over 2. My cosine is root 2 over 2, and that's going to be 1. Or you can just take here and say tangent of 45 is equal to opposite over adjacent, so 1 over 1, which is 1. Either way, you get the right answer. So find the missing side of the triangle. So again, S, this is my S over 2, and this is my S over 2 root 3. Well, S over 2 is 1, okay? So that being the case, 1 root 3 or just root 3. And now you can find sine of 30 degrees. I know it tells you to find all these, but in all honesty, you should be able to figure it out. So opposite over adjacent. Here's my hypotenuse. So not over adjacent, but here's the adjacent. So opposite over hypotenuse, which is 1 over 2. Cosine 30 degrees. Opposite over adjacent, 1 over square root 3, but I can't have a square root on the bottom, so multiply by square root of 3 over square root of 3. So that's going to give me root 3 over 3. I made a mistake. I said 1. I put an opposite over, in this case, adjacent. My error is 2. I'm so sorry. I'm tired. So, yes, I still have to do that. TOA, adjacent over hypotenuse. Okay, so my error, root 3 over 2, because it's adjacent over hypotenuse. And then tangent of 30 degrees, opposite over adjacent, 1 over square root 3, multiply, square root of 3, square root of 3. You're going to get square root of 3 over 3. Yay! Questions? All right, well, since I don't hear anything, I'm going to move along. Yes, I know I didn't do these, and you know what? I'm not going to. You can. So here's more trig functions. Again, memorize them, memorize them. These come from this one right there. So if I have sine squared theta plus cosine squared theta equals 1, I can take and divide everything by I don't know, cosine. Let's just take cosine. So I got cosine squared theta. Everything's being divided by cosine squared theta. Oops, don't know why I did that. So sine squared theta over cosine squared theta, you should be good with that. That's going to give me tangent squared theta. Cosine squared theta divided by cosine squared theta is 1. And this one, 1 over cosine squared theta, that's secant squared theta. So that's where these come from. Notice 1 plus tangent squared theta is equals secant squared theta. 1 plus tangent squared theta is secant squared theta. It's pretty much that. So it's asking, let sine theta equals 0.6, find cosine theta and tangent theta. All right. So I'm assuming they want me to use these, the formulas here. So I'm just going to use sine squared theta plus cosine squared theta equals 1. And I'll be able to plug it in. So 0.6 quantity squared plus cosine squared theta equals 1. 0.36 plus cosine squared theta equals 1. Subtract 0.36 from both sides, 0.36. That's going to cancel out. And I have cosine squared theta equals 0.64 because 1 minus 0.36 is 0.64. And now I'm going to take and square root both sides. So I'm going to get cosine theta equals 0.8. Yay! If I want to find tangent, well, now that I found cosine, I can say tangent theta equals sine theta over cosine theta. And now I just do 0.6 over 0.8. And that means tangent of theta is equal to 3/4. Yay, done. So let tangent theta equals 1/3, find cotangent theta and secant theta. Well, we know that tangent squared theta plus 1 equals secant squared theta. So I should be able to find the secant squared theta, or shall I say secant of theta, from the secant squared theta. So I've got 1/3 quantity squared plus 1 equals secant squared theta. That's going to be 1/9 plus 1 equals secant squared theta. That's going to be 10/9 equals secant squared theta. So secant, I take the square root of both sides. So I get square root of 10 over 3 equals secant theta. And if I want to find cotangent theta, remember, cotangent theta is 1 over tangent theta. So I'm just going to take the reciprocal of tangent. Cotangent theta equals 1 over 1/3, or just cotangent theta equals 3. Yay! So, using trig identities, we need to basically prove. All right, no problem. That's fine. We can do it. So I got sine theta, cosecant theta. Well, cosecant is 1 over sine theta. And that cancels out, so I get 1 equals 1. Done. Mic drop. So cosecant theta plus cotangent theta times cosecant theta minus cotangent theta. This is the same as saying x plus 1, x minus 1, and we multiply it out. So what I'm going to end up once I multiply it out, cosecant squared theta minus cotangent squared theta equals 1. Just multiply it out. So let's see. Going back to our trig functions that I have not totally memorized. 1 plus cotangent squared theta is cosecant squared theta. Okay. So what does that mean? That means I can take and say 1 is equal to cosecant squared theta minus cotangent squared theta. All I did is I subtracted cotangent squared theta. So there you go. I can immediately jump to, that's 1. So 1 equals 1. Yay. So lastly, remnant from the other class. Lastly, you have a triangle problem. Now I'm going to make the triangle a little bit more pronounced than they did, just because dude can't see. Okay, so this is 115 feet. This is 78.3 degrees. I don't know what this is. I don't know what this is, but I want to know this side. Not a problem. So what I can do is first figure out what these sides are with respect to this angle. So this is opposite, this is hypotenuse, this is adjacent. And now, out of Gradient Chief SOHCAHTOA, see, so tired I can't even write it. SOHCAHTOA. So Gradient Chief SOHCAHTOA, which one has opposite and adjacent? That's going to be tangent. So I'm going to say tangent of 78.3 degrees is equal to opposite, so that's y, over adjacent, which is 115. We want to find out what y is. So I'm going to take both sides and I'm going to multiply it by 115. Cancels. So I get y is equal to 115 tangent of 78.3. And this is a calculator moment. It should give you 500 and some change. So like 580 something, I'm guessing. Approximately 550 feet. So this is where you use your calculator. That's about it for this. Yes, it's that easy. Yes, it's that easy. I'll say it again. Yes, it's that easy. All right, so there you guys are. You have 2 homework assignments on haiku. You have section 4.2 and you have section 4.3 homework assignment. I was going to do a 4.4 lecture, but I'm kind of the opinion that I probably should wait till Monday for that. So that's what I'm going to do. However, it's going to constrain our time that we have to review for the midterm. So we'll see. That's about it, Rancho. I will talk to you later. Sorry I can't be at school tomorrow. Peace. Bye.